All right, good morning, KOTA territory. Welcome to the KOTA Now live stream here for your KOTA Now First Sip. I'm Humberto Giles Sanchez.
I'm Mimi Herrick.
We are here to kind of give you the first sip of the morning here. Sit down, have a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you wish this morning. It's cold outside, as you can see.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a warm beverage. Unless you're one of those people that likes cold with cold, then go ahead and have a nice iced coffee or iced drink this morning. But talking about, kind of topics a little bit that we talked about on First Sip on GmbH. I know last week we talked about, it was Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I gave some of our viewers some places that they could kind of go eat. Unfortunately, it's not Valentine's Day anymore, so those places are not giving those discounts out anymore. I hope some of our viewers got to enjoy those. But I know that you had a topic that really kind of piqued the interest of kind of the day itself of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
The history behind it. I mean, what did you learn from that, at least?
A lot. So basically the original Saint Valentine, right? It's Saint Valentine's Day. There are 3 different Saint Valentines or Valentinus recognized by the Catholic Church, and they all have 3 kind of different but similar stories. My personal favorite, though, was that he was a priest who served during the 3rd century in Rome, and that was when Emperor Claudius II decided that single men made better soldiers than married men, so he outlawed it for all young single men to get married. And so Saint Valentine performs those marriages for young lovers in secret. And it ended up that when his actions were discovered, he was killed, and that is why he was honored as a saint.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's really cool. It's interesting history behind it, but that's
Yeah.
shocking.
Very shocking.
That it ended like that.
Well, and the reason that they chose February 14th is because of an old pagan tradition that took place to kind of start spring in Rome. So basically what would happen is on February 15th, there was a festival where they would go to the cave where the infants, Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, were born and raised by a she-wolf. Once they were there, priests would sacrifice a goat for fertility and a dog for purification, and they would take the goat hide and they would bring it around town, and it was said to bless the crops and the women in the town. A lot of women wanted to touch the goat to be blessed with good fertility for the following year, which was kind of an interesting tradition, but that's why it was Christianized then and turned into St. Valentine's Day.
It's very, I mean, I never thought that that would have been how this, this holiday, or the holiday of love that a lot of people celebrate. Not everyone celebrates it, but a lot of people do here in the U.S. and around the world. It's kind of interesting to see how
it has a weird past.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of holidays actually start like that. And something interesting too is St. Valentine's Day wasn't even really associated with love until 1375, and that was when the English poet Geoffrey Chaucer was the first to record it as a day to celebrate love. In his poem, he said, "For this was sent on St. Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh to choose his mate." So I just think that's interesting that there's this very long history of when things were sort of honored as St. Valentine's Day, but it wasn't really about love quite yet. And even interesting after that, people didn't exchange gifts or greeting cards until about the 17th century, which I think is really interesting. Greeting
really
cards.
is. Sorry, I just took out my little fidget toy, explaining the history of it.
Yeah, of course. So greeting cards on Valentine's Day originated in the 17th century England, and a lot of those were handmade little love notes that people would give to, friends, family, loved ones, just as a token of appreciation. And there weren't really mass-produced cards until I think it was 1840s in the U.S. That's when they first originated, and that's sort of when those Hallmark cards became a thing. And it's the second most popular greeting card holiday.
I remember that part because it's kind of funny that you said that, because on Valentine's Day I gave a card to my significant other, which is funny because it's like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, and then on Saturday comes around, and I was like, oh, looks like I participate. I was one of those numbers.
Yeah, you were one of the 145 million Valentine's Day cards that was sent.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I mean, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
how the holidays started.
I think it's a really interesting thing
is.
to look into. I personally really love kind of history of holidays like that. I think it's interesting how they evolve over time.
It really is, especially because you don't really think about, some of the history when you are participating in the holiday. I know a big one, at least for me, when I started to kind of celebrate Halloween specifically. I didn't realize, I just was curious in the history behind it, and it came out to be its origins pagan, and it was kind of interesting to me, and I was like, oh, well, this is crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of these holidays, like you said, have very interesting starts, and it's really cool to see that to this day we celebrate these various holidays with those interesting starts and how it has evolved over time. And specifically, especially like you mentioned a lot here, Valentine's Day, which is really cool. Is there anything else our viewers should know about, the holiday, kind of regarding its origins, regarding some of these cool things? I mean, how do you celebrate Valentine's Day?
I am more of someone who wants to celebrate like spending quality time with people, with loved ones. I think it's really fun and important to spend quality time with people. I don't care so much personally about flowers or cards or chocolate or all that. But I think it's more fun to do something like an activity, watch a rom-com, celebrate love and that, because that's what it's all about. It's not about the cards or spending money or any of that. It's about celebrating your love.
Yes, it is. It is all about kind of spending that time with your partner, with your significant other, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But and it is a very commercialized holiday, and I know that it is one of the biggest holidays to kind of buy flowers, kind of buy chocolates, a lot of candy. I will say the day after, the couple
Great
like
sales.
2 days, yes, 2 days after Valentine's Day. I almost said it again. I remember I said it last Friday. I said Thanksgiving, and I was like, I almost just said Thanksgiving. Oh my goodness, I really just want Thanksgiving to come around. Yes, 100%.
Maybe we should have a Thanksgiving in February for you.
Oh my goodness. No, I'm good. I can wait to get those to get that good food. I can wait until November.
Yeah.
But talking, and it's similar. Kind of realizing that not that materialistic aspect is not as important. It's more of like the thought that counts. Which is really
and
cool.
there's a lot of ways to make Valentine's Day affordable, but still celebrate your love in kind of these traditional ways. I know it's already passed, but personally, when I was younger, I know a lot of parents would have their kids hand out these pre-made Valentines. My mom would sit us down with some construction paper and markers and be like, you need to make one for every single kid in your class, go. And it was just a lot of fun to get crafty like that. And I think even doing that as an adult would be a fun sort of activity. Make the Valentine, give it to your loved ones, write those notes of appreciation by hand, because they mean a lot more.
Yes, exactly. And actually, fun fact, I did also make one of those paper roses that you do on Good Morning Black Hills and Good Morning KOTA Territory. I did do that for Valentine's Day, and that was really fun. Especially I did that with a book that was already just torn apart, and I was like, I don't want to throw this away.
You need to give it a second life.
Yes, exactly. But kind of going along with Valentine's Day and being proactive, right? Being proactive toward your partner, being proactive towards something, a goal, something like that. Let's talk about procrastination, something that a lot of us might be familiar with.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
Okay, so really quickly, before we get into kind of helping people deal with procrastination, what should they do? What is the biggest moment that you have, what's the biggest procrastination moment that you have ever done?
Okay, so when I was in college, I was on the water polo team. And my junior year, we were going to nationals, and nationals was during finals week in the spring. I procrastinated all of my finals until the day before we left for nationals. And so I had to write like 3 different papers all in one day, like in the span of 24 hours to get it all done by the time we were heading out on a plane to LA. So it was.
Oh man. And
what about you?
Well, I'll tell you, it was. I hate to admit it because I like to think that I was very good with my homework in college and all through high school. But I had a rude awakening when I got to college my freshman year from high school, because senior year you get used to it. You get used to the high school kind of experience, and you don't do your homework because you're like, I'm going to graduate. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to
Oh, the
work as
senioritis
hard.
is real.
Then you get to college. Freshman year comes around,
Yes.
similar to your story, except I went to college for an acting degree. So I went there for a fine arts bachelor acting degree, right? I didn't graduate with an acting degree. I had to switch degrees sophomore year due to personal reasons. But either way, that's another story for another day. But kind of as for the kind of homework wise, I was really bad with turning in assignments freshman year of college. Had that rude awakening when I realized that my grade was actually taking a hit because of it. And it all just came down to not wanting to memorize my lines in time, and also not wanting to write my papers in time, not doing the appropriate work to kind of get that going. And, a lot of it was just laziness on my part. It was...
In college, there's a lot better things to do than your homework, it seems like.
And 100% it was a lot, it was just laziness on my end. But I know that some people, when it comes to procrastination, I know some people, it can take a different form. In fact, there was a study that I recently read that said that it can actually be caused by attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, as some people might know it. So yes, ADHD can be a reason for procrastination, and it stems from, according to the study, it can stem from an underdeveloped or impaired executive function or self-regulation skill, which, again, it's just hard to focus, hard to do these tasks, hard to plan and kind of stay on task.
Yes.
A lot of distractions. Even if there isn't distractions, you get distracted right away. For some people, if you do have ADHD, I know that can vary from person to person. But also, some other things that were very interesting when I was reading that study was, it's not only ADHD, it can also be trauma. It can be heavy emotions that can cause procrastination. Story of one of my friends in college, they procrastinated because they had stuff going on in their life. It was very much, they just didn't have the emotion to go out and do the work. It was very much, I'd rather do this than have to do work and not be able to think about whatever they had going on. So it is those kinds of things that, can kind of contribute to procrastination. And unlike my case, right, which was just laziness, yes. It was very much that trauma for them and kind of those heavy emotions for them. But those are some kind of triggers to procrastination. And there are some ways that some people can kind of start to work on making sure that they start focusing on. One of mine, which was kind of, I'm glad that it was there. One of mine was creating a schedule for myself, being able to, yes, staying on track, being able to know when stuff is going to happen, when it's due, when all that stuff is on my calendar.
Yes.
And then, kind of another thing that helped me specifically, and I had this app that I still use today. It's like kind of being a big nerd, right? A big person that likes fantasy RPGs. As
yes.
I quote, self-claimed nerd here. But,
me too, don't worry.
A big thing that app really helped me was kind of getting rewards and kind of being able to give myself, I created this character on this application, and then as I would do complete tasks, I would get XP, and I would level up my character.
That is a fun way to get a reward for that. I was going to say I reward myself with phone time, which maybe isn't the best way.
Well, hey, it's a reward nonetheless. And one of those is changing your motivators and rewarding yourself during or after the task. And another thing that kind of surprised me, because I never really knew how exactly a reward could be or how challenging I should make my procrastination task be, but kind of allow yourself to fail. If you're not able to kind of stay on task with something, allow yourself to fail. That's perfectly okay. You can set that task, but if you're not able to complete it, don't be hard on yourself. That kind of also helps you stay on track, which was something that I know first starting, I didn't really realize that was kind of happening at some points. But yeah, no, it is true. If you set that goal, if you set that standard for yourself, slow first, then you can continuously kind of keep going up. And
well, and if you're hard on yourself, sometimes that can add to the procrastination. And it's better to be forgiving and let yourself move forward with your task without obsessing over messing up.
Right. And I mean, how did you kind of get going, at least work through your procrastination phase?
I live and die by a to-do list and a calendar. I'm sure you've seen my big planner that I have with me everywhere, every day, but everything I need to do, no matter if it's life stuff, here stuff, anything, it's all in that calendar. Every daily task I have, goals I have, weekly stuff, daily stuff, everything is organized so that I know that it's there. And if I need to push something off a day or two, it's totally fine to do that.
No, exactly. And, you know, I have seen that, which is, you know, I always applaud, I applaud you for that because my planning calendar is all digital.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for kind of.
I used to be digital. I used to use Notion a lot. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yes,
It's a really cool app you can get on your computer, and it'll help you create to-do lists and organize calendars and stuff. So it's a good option for digital people.
Yeah, no, and that's, I mean, I might have to look into that because technically at least what I used was just the Outlook calendar and having everything on there, and then my iPhone calendar when I got an iPhone. But kind of that, and then also some other stuff that you could do is use social support. You know, have a friend check up on you. You know, ask them like, hey, can you remind me to do this? Or hey, can you help me kind of be on track whenever I'm studying or whenever I'm doing a certain task. And
I'd love to have a study buddy. When I was in college, I got so much more work done sitting down with someone else who was also keeping me accountable.
Right. No, and it definitely helps. And there's definitely like a very noticeable difference in the way that you work and the way that you kind of tackle a situation or tackle an issue or tackle whatever you're doing that day, your task. But also, if it is something to do with ADHD, if it is something to do with trauma, heavy emotions, check in with your therapist, your healthcare provider. Those, you know, it is very important to keep your mental health healthy.
Yes.
And it is important to kind of, you know, if you do want to find, if it is one of those three, it is important to kind of find that help.
They can provide you with a lot more adequate help than us giving you tips of keep a schedule, have a planner. That's all fine and dandy if that's what you need. But if you need a little bit more extra support, a healthcare professional is going to have those tools.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, it is better to check in with them, especially if you do think that these are the issues or these are the reasons why you are procrastinating. Please, not only from us, but also from, I can assure you, from the whole KOTA Territory News team up here, please stay healthy, mentally healthy.
Take care of yourself.
Yes, please. And I mean, that was one of the best advice for those three is check in with a therapist, check in with your healthcare provider to make sure everything's okay, and make sure that, you know, it's not something else that could be affecting you. And also keep in mind the road to recovery or the road to kind of work out the best way for you to kind of stop procrastinating is not always linear. It's not the same for everyone.
Yeah.
That's also another thing to keep in mind. Just keep an open mind about the ways that you work and try everything. If need be, the support and strategies can change throughout everyday life. Events happen, things happen, demands, energy level shifts. Quite literally, it is how you are feeling that day. So make sure you are up to date and kind of keep track of your kind of schedule. If you have one, keep track of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And then our next topic was something we talked about also yesterday, which was that a study came out last week that showed that the popular weight loss drug Ozempic can also be used potentially to help people with moderate alcohol use disorders. So in this study, there was 48 people who showed signs of moderate alcohol use disorder, and they found that taking a low dose of Ozempic, or its generic name, I forget it off the top of my head, or its generic counterparts, they saw a greater reduction in drinking than those taking the placebo. So they drank about 40% less, which I thought was really interesting. Now, it didn't reduce the number of days or the number of times that they drank, but when they did drink, they drank less.
Right.
Which I think is very interesting for a weight loss drug like that. So if it continues to be tested, this means it could be used to help people with these alcohol use disorders, which, again, 30 million people in the United States are affected by alcohol use disorders, and it's very important for those issues to be addressed. and to be treated and getting professional help like we've been talking about.
No, exactly, and you know, it's quite interesting. There's still a lot of studies happening, whether it be, you know, about the drug Ozempic, and there's a ton of studies, which is great to see that, you know, the medical field is working on this drug to make sure that it's safe, the safest it can be for everyone. But if you do end up trying to do that, please, again, first check with your healthcare provider.
Yes.
But and that's important, you know. It's pretty good to check in with them. And I mean, talking a little bit about that, what are some more statistics that have come out with that?
Yeah, so there's actually already 3 medicines approved by the FDA to help alcohol use disorders, but only 2% of the people with this disorder receive treatment, which I thought was really interesting because a lot of times with alcohol use disorders, it can be hard to reach out for help. So it's important that if you are recognizing these signs in yourself or a loved one, that you reach out for help and you can get that. There's resources available, and I know it's hard and it's hard to deal with. It's a hard problem, a disorder to be faced with.
Right, no, and it really is, and yes, I'm going to just go ahead and say the same thing. Yes, if you do, please check in with the healthcare provider. It's always important to do that first before you decide anything health-wise for yourself.
I also found it interesting that only 2% of people are receiving these medications that could help them with their condition. So it's very interesting to me that that is an option that I didn't even know about until researching this a little further.
No, exactly. And I mean, there's probably even more that's going to come out from that if anytime soon. It's always cool to see that kind of medical research happen. It's always interesting. I don't know. You always like look on some of the websites or some of the, you know, either news outlets, medical websites, journals, stuff like that. And it's always really cool to see these studies go on.
Yeah, people are doing a lot of really great work in the medical field, and if you want to check out the sources that I'm talking about in this, I got this information from JAMA Psychiatrics. That's where the study was published, and then also the 2023 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, if you're looking for some of these similar statistics, just for some additional information.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I think we've covered all 3 topics that we've talked about. Like I said, unfortunately, Valentine's Day is over, so I can, you know, kind of talk about some of the places that we're having those discounts here locally in KOTA territory. But we were able to kind of touch on the Valentine's Day history. We were able to touch on the procrastination, how to deal with procrastination, and some new study numbers for Ozempic and alcoholism, which is a real problem for some people, and hopefully either way we can get more research from that done and kind of get some more numbers going.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that study progresses, and we will keep you updated as more information is available.
Exactly. But with that being said, I believe that is it for First Sip here at the KOTA Now live streaming desk. Unfortunately, we're not the desk, but we're out here in the studio.
We're in the studio today.
that is it for First Sip here on the KOTA Now live streaming segment. Whether you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, we hope that you stay warm, especially as you can see it is very chilly today.
Very cold outside.
Yes. I believe we're looking here at the first alert golden west weather cam here, and it seems like
it's reading
-14. Yes.
Oof. Woof.
It feels like -30. Oh boy. Well, stay warm. Please stay warm out there. Make sure that you bundle up today. As always, I'm Humberto de Sanchez.
I'm Mimi Herrick.
We hope you have a wonderful and warm rest of your Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on First Sip.